Dear friends, thank you so much for inviting me to address this important event. I am recording this video from Toronto, where I am in the middle of an outreach and fundraising mission for the State of Israel in general and for WITSO's activities during the war in particular. And I want to briefly share my reaction to being here. It's one thing to be in Tel Aviv and be overwhelmed by the solidarity and support of WITSO members around the world, all the while reading and hearing about the extreme outbursts of anti-Semitism and support for the evil of terrorism and even of Hamas itself. It is another thing entirely for me to be here surrounded by passionate supporters of Israel whose warm and powerful embrace of me, of WITSO, of the State of Israel is so incredibly moving, so incredibly empowering. I know that the same is true in Cape Town and in every Jewish community around the globe. I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your devoted efforts to support WITSO and Israel, and want to thank each and every one of you for contributing to our wartime emergency fund campaign. The worldwide response has been amazing, and we are using these funds for urgent and special needs that are arising all the time during the war, and in sustaining our ability to help tens of thousands of the most vulnerable children, women, and families. The end of the war is not in sight, and with the deep national trauma Israel has experienced, the needs are urgent and great. We are continuing our campaign and hope that you will continue to give generously. I would like to congratulate all those Haverot who have volunteered in WITSO Cape Town for many years and decades, and who are today receiving awards for this long and devoted service. You are all amazing WITSO women, and we love you and appreciate you. A few words about WITSO. Our diverse network in Israel includes 167 daycare centers caring for 11,000 infants and toddlers from 3 months to 3 years old. We operate 5 youth villages and 3 special schools, educating some 6,000 youth from age 12 to 18. We have 2 shelters for women victims of domestic violence and their children, 18 foster home and emergency frameworks, numerous programs for girls, women, and families, and much, much more. Thousands of WITSO volunteers work with vulnerable populations in over 40 communities around the country, from north to south. And our second-hand clothing chain with 50 stores serves underprivileged Israelis and, of course, contributes to environmental sustainability. As you all know, WITSO is also an international movement of Zionist women with over 100,000 members in 38 countries around the world. WITSO is like that film that won the Oscar for Best Picture this year, everything, everywhere, all the time. It is this scope and diversity what enables us to have such a huge impact on Israeli society and enables us to touch the lives of so many people in so many ways. This has never been truer than during the current war, and it is on this that I would like to focus my remarks. As individuals, the horrific events of October 7th may have been overwhelming for us, and they overwhelmed us with grief and, of course, outrage. But WITSO, whose fundamental responsibility is to the people of Israel, we could not allow ourselves to be paralyzed by this tragedy, and, of course, we sprang right away into action. Within days of the start of the war, we began putting multiple initiatives together and in motion, such as convincing the government to allow us to open 11 emergency daycare centers serving the children of medical personnel in 7 major hospitals around the country, so their parents could be free to perform their life-saving work on the more than 4,000 Israelis wounded on October 7th. For about 10 days, these 11 centers, WITSO centers, were the only daycare centers operating in Israel. WITSO is doing much on the ground in Israel. Our volunteers are active all over the country, caring for people in their community and working to bring food, clothing, and other assistance to the people of the South and, of course, to our soldiers. We launched a campaign called With WITSO, You're Not Alone, You're Never Alone, which offers a wide range of support services provided by WITSO volunteers to women whose spouses have been called to the military services. These volunteers will babysit, do your food shopping, help you cook, and of course, lend a sympathetic ear and a loving embrace. We also have increased the hours and staffing of our 3 national telephone hotlines, which have been flooded with calls. One for advice to parents of small children, one for women's victims of domestic violence, and a very unique one for men in the cycle of domestic violence. WITSO youth villages are home to 250 participants in the Naale program. These are Jewish teenagers from around the world who come to Israel to live and study. Many of these children came to us last year as refugees from war-torn Ukraine. Imagine the trauma they are experiencing, going through another terrible war. But we are doing everything we can to ease their fears and homesickness. Another WITSO youth village, WITSO Gan Vanov in Petah Tikva, hosted over 150 displaced Israelis from both the south and the north. These are people who have lost their homes or were forced to leave them. I visited Gan Vanov and met a number of women with their children and their grandmas. Most of their husbands have been called to the army. I was deeply touched, but not all surprised, to see the incredible hospitality we extended to these families. We continue to support 140 women and 250 children in 9 different communities who are part of our safety net program. This is a diverse support program for women after they leave the domestic violence shelters to help ensure that they're not compelled to return to their violent spouses. These women face constant challenges, even in normal times, but the situation is so much worse during wartime. These are just a few of the many initiatives that WITSO is taking during this time. Of course, every day brings new initiatives, new ways of helping our people. I would also like to update you that the Neve WITSO, the beautiful foster home institution in Herzliya, sponsored by WITSO South Africa, is operating with 25 children and teenagers receiving the best professional and loving care. There is so much more I could tell you about, so many personal stories of tragedy, of heroism, and simply enormous love and endless giving. This is WITSO. If there are 2 key lessons we can already learn from this war, they are: the existence of Israel is critical to the future of Jewish people, and that Israel and the Jewish people can survive and flourish only if we are united. We are one family, WITSO, Israel, the Jewish people. We will survive this, we will overcome, and we will flourish as long as we stay together. And we pray for the safe return of the hostages, the safety of our soldiers, and for a total victory of the IDF, and secure a future for our beloved Israel. Am Israel Chai, together we will survive, ביחד ננצח. Thank you so much.